Much for standing by. Dr. Biodun Adedipe, economist and senior partner at B. Adedipe and Associates. We thank you. BC Sander from Ernst & Young and Oluwafemi Awuyemi as Chief Executive of ProShare Nigeria. Dr. Adedipe, let's start with you. Based on these considerations by the Central Bank of Nigeria, what are your thoughts?
Well, I will start from the argument, the build-up to the decision. That in my interpretation of it, there is a disconnect between the arguments and the final.
Going as high as 18%. Who is going to put his money in savings or demand or fixed deposit? So what job is left for the banks to do? So more or less, we are just closing the Nigerian economy gradually. Because as far as I'm concerned, we don't just use framework of analysis without remembering the fundamental about the Nigerian economy, that we are an underdeveloped economy. So we have to manage economic development. We have to always remember that and not just go for theoretical position just like that.
Mr. Sander, thank you very much for weighing in on that. Let's get back quickly to Femi Awuyemi, and very quickly, I want you to weigh in on this. How do you think the markets should react moving forward with this do nothing? You know, the scenario over the last couple of days was, will the central bank have a wait and see attitude, which, well, obviously is do nothing, which is retaining those indicators or key parameters against do something. So how do you think the markets will move forward from here, from tomorrow?
Do nothing is the scenario the market had priced in from the last 4 or 5 days. We looked at the pattern of decision making, and there were two major considerations. One, if you wanted a bold move, you would go for growth. If you wanted to retain status quo, and because you've exhausted virtually everything, and because there's an absence of an economic plan that would take care of the fiscal side, it was always obvious that do nothing was the option. And so the market had already taken that into consideration and is surprised. There's really nothing surprising here. If at all there is any surprising thing here, it is the fact that the CBN has fully put the ball back in the federal government stable, back to Kemi Adeosun and her team, to say to them that you would have to come up with a policy framework and a specific plan to get us out of recession. The fiscal plans will not cut it. Something we've all known for a while, and maybe that's about the only positive you will pick from it. That's we're staying the course, and whatever that course is right now, it is not a positive one. And the longer we take in making a decision concerning this recession, the longer we then prolong the whole matter. And then the choices, therefore, suffer what you call time intervention challenges. If there's anything that needs to be said, is that we need to take a bold decision. The problem Nigeria is facing is not a unique problem that financial engineering cannot address, but most importantly, it needs a very bold decision to say we can and we should pursue double-digit growth.
Now, Femi, thank you so much for that. Let Dr. Adedipe come in here and look at this part of the conversation. Were you surprised that all 10 members of this committee, the MPC, decided to do nothing, that is, leave interest rate unchanged? This was something very significant considering where we're coming from.
Yeah, I will express surprise given what is happening domestically here and also globally. Now, one thing I've observed is this. Most countries nowadays run their economies on what I call pragmatic economic framework. And that means what is the situation we are in, and then we design policies, then we sequence policies, and then execute accordingly. It's a first-stage thing. The context is primary, and then you design your policy, you sequence the components of it, and then you execute. But in this instance, now the central bank has taken a position that, look, there must be complementarity between fiscal and monetary policy. Granted. But then what I hear also is that even if fiscal policy is going the way of stimulating the economy, and I've seen that, and I will point that out here because I haven't had anybody make reference to this. Between June and now, as much as 350 billion released at first, naira, for infrastructure projects, And then this September, another 350 billion is being released. That is 700 billion naira so far, this year alone. Now look at the history of the last 10 years in this economy. And now let's look at which of those years we have spent close to 700 billion naira on capital projects at the national level. So we begin to see that truly fiscal operations are in the direction of stimulating the economy. Yeah. So all I expected was that the monetary policy authorities will complement that by doing what they have control on. And that is the way I will leave it today.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Adedepe. What you're saying right now is that for these 10 members of the MPC to say, look, we're holding fire, as it were, we're doing nothing for now. It looks like we're having a bit of a convergence between the fiscal authorities and the monetary policies. We need to round off this panel discussion. We thank you, gentlemen. So I'm going to give you just 1 minute each or thereabout. Let's look into November, the final monetary policy meeting for 2016. Femi Awoyemi, let's start from you, from the far right. What do you think will be the decision in November?
A lot of things would have changed by now. One, the full effect of the recession will begin to, will then be able to capture it in both on economic terms, both qualitative and unqualitative terms. But for me, I think the more defining thing will be that there will be a better awakening as to why we should pursue growth. For me, there is just no other compelling argument for us to get out of this or to pursue growth, which would mean that we'll be making tough decisions. Yes, we know. And then it's high time we start engaging in that conversation rather than going back and forth as to whether monetary can work. And just like Dr. Adedepe said, if the government is therefore seeking to pursue growth, the CBN must move and they must sing from the same hymn book. And that exactly is what I think we will see by November. We cannot afford any other thing than that.
Thank you for that. Give us 1 minute of your time, Mr. Sander from Ernst & Young. What do you think the decisions in November will be? How do you think the voting will go? What will likely change or remain unchanged?
Well, I align with what Mr. Oyene has just said, in that the pressure not only on the political government, but even the social restiveness will be so, palpable that it's only what is reasonable and what should be that I believe every organ of government will pursue in order to avert. Because the problem is there, and everybody is, majority of people are suffering, and we need to, find solutions to this. And stagflation is not anything uncommon.
It's not a death sentence.
So it's not a death sentence. So I don't know why we need to shy away from taking the bull by the horn.
We appreciate that, Mr. Sander. Yeah, thank you so much. Dr. Adedepe, in 30 seconds, what's your outlook on November MPC?
Well, I expect central bank to align its position with what is required to get this economy in its right direction. And that is to review what they have done today and begin to drop the policy rate.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of this. Dr. Biodun Adedepe, economist and senior partner at B. Adedepe and Associates. BC Sander, senior partner, transaction advisory services at Ernst & Young, and Oluwafemi Awoyemi, who is a finance expert and chief executive officer at ProShare Nigeria. We thank you, gentlemen, for being part of this conversation. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
This has been a Channels Television live event from the headquarters of the Central Bank of Nigeria in Abuja. I am Bosin Namofaye, and we thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, and bye for now.